Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play another Metroid 2 Remake. In the last part, we started off the tower and we headed into the power plant where we subsequently got blown up after blowing something else up. And now we're actually going to head back down into the power plant area because you can actually still head down here. However, all that lies down here for us is a couple of item expansions, so if you're going for the speed run that's completely like not getting everything, ignore this entirely. So all that's down here is not only an energy tank, but if you look and see where that super missile tank is, super missile block is, you can blow that up by speed boosting through these blocks with the shine spark and aiming up with the super missile. And I believe all that's up here is a standard missile tank. Yes, it is. As soon as I can get up there. Come on. This jump is actually pretty tricky to make. The morph ball is not as responsive as I think it is in Metroid Zero Mission and Fusion. It's very close, but it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't feel like I have as much control over it as I do in Zero Mission, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Because I could have made that little tile morph ball jump I tried to make to get that missile tank. I could have made that in Super Metroid, Zero Mission, but not here. Also, now we're going to start getting power bomb tanks, which, like the super missile tanks, increase your total stock by 2. I believe the max for those is also 20, and with them we can now open yellow doors. And this is faster. We just powered up the tower. If you come in here before, it's still not powered up, and you need to do that. The tower. The immense tower houses our weapons R&D facility. The robots patrolling within are combat drones equipped with weapon prototypes and advanced shield plating. They possess superior AI and are programmed to fire at any living target, keeping the tower sterilized of organic matter very efficiently. Proceed with caution. The reason I went for the power plant first was so I could open that power bomb door to get in here. Because there's a crack above that power bomb door you can enter with the morph ball that allows you to go through here early. But you basically accomplish nothing by doing that in terms of time, because in terms of 100%, there are items we need the power bomb in here to get anyway. So it's just faster to go for the power bomb first. Either way, time for something interesting. Meet our next boss fight, and possibly one of the hardest ones in the game. The Tester. The unit performs 360-degree live fire tests of prototype weapons. Scans indicate the exterior armor is resistant to beam weaponry, while the interior is further protected with it by an energy field that repels solid projectiles. Auto repair systems in the cannons can mend all damage within seconds. Schematics reveal these systems were applied due to earlier models' cannons being exposed to exceedingly violent tests. Similar to your power suit, the unit's modular design allows for the addition and removal of equipment. Interesting little thing about the way this thing attacks is that it actually uses attacks similar to the ones we'll eventually get. Like that one, similar to a certain one that was first introduced in Metroid 1. And a lot of the abilities it has in terms of the cannons are similar to the beam weapons. Way you want to go about this fight is by actually using your power bombs first, because that can get a lot of hits on the outer projectile areas, and then spamming missiles at the outer shields. Our main target is the red dot in the center, but in order to damage that, we want to get rid of as much of the plating as possible, rather. And then we want to shoot our beam at the green spiderweb on the inside, which will eventually get destroyed. In which case, we can then just fire our missiles at the red dot to destroy it. The cannons fire various types of projectiles that all have different ways of dodging. Like this one, the best way to dodge is just to sit in one of the corners. But you actually want to destroy the cannons more often than not, just to get weapons ammunition from them. This fight can actually be pretty tough, especially on the first playthrough, and especially on hard mode, just due to increased damage and health. Best strategy, though, just spam fire and hopefully you win. Like right now, I just took out the shielding, so now I have to just fire missile payloads into it and hope I kill it. I forget if the shield ever comes back. I want to say it doesn't. Either way, it's down. That fight can be fairly annoying on the first playthrough. And with that, I now have access to the rest of the tower, which is basically a straight jumper, because I can use a power bomb to destroy that and get that super missile tank, which is the reason you want to come in here after getting the power bombs, purely for that. And now we can space jump up here. Oh, hey, that looks cool. In here is another beam upgrade, the plasma beam. Our beams can now pierce enemies. This makes the machine enemies much more killable, honestly, for lack of a better term. If you had the other beam ability, I didn't get yet because it's just faster for me to get later on. This would basically completely destroy this area's difficulty. But with that, we're almost entirely done. No, actually, no, we are done in general in the tower for now. We'll come back here later on for a few items, but that won't be until, I believe, next part. With that, we're good to clear on into the next few areas. And it's here where AM2R strays. If you were playing the original Metroid 2 Return to Samus, you would be heading on into, I believe, Phase 8, which is where you encounter your first evolution again. But now AM2R introduces a new area, which has a total of 8 Metroids. This is where the game's extra Metroid count comes from. And if you can't tell by the water, it's a waterlogged area because this game has to have one of those because it was it. Because basically they were in every area after Super. Well, after Metroid 2, technically. Super was just when introduced them. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my least favorite area in the game, but also my favorite because it's completely original. As soon as I killed these enemies, that's just being annoying. Ah, great, I didn't even get to press start. Fantastic. I hate these enemies in the water, they're actually very annoying. Welcome to, as soon as I get to the data log, thank you enemies for annoying me, the distribution center. This cave is a massive building outfitted with electrical conduits and water pipes. One of the pipes has collapsed, and water steadily floods the lower sections of the facility. Data is insufficient to determine the structure's functionality. That'll change eventually. Since we can't really do anything underwater due to the physics slowing us down, we want to head to where above water is and see where we can head from there. Song here is really good, by the way. It's, I think, the only area theme that's completely original and not a remix of some prior Metroid track. Well, at least at this point in the game. But it's just such a good song. Really cool background, too. This area, though, the reason it's my least favorite in some way is because, similar to the industrial complex, there are a lot of enemies here that just really hurts. However, I find the area on the whole more interesting than the industrial complex because it's a lot of new stuff. So I'm kind of conflicted on it, honestly. It's really fun to go through, though, all the same. Can't go through there, so let's shine spark up here. And head on towards our first main objective. Don't touch any of these robo-mines because that will just make stuff explode. Power bombs are pretty useful here just to get through a lot of the machines, though. Ow! Ow! Yeah, robo-mines suck like that. And it's up here we find our kind of main idea for this place. Once we get into this, we unlock those things in the background. The distribution center. This facility is a power distribution center. The wiring linked to this facility provides power to various structures within the region. All excess energy is stored in portable power spherical cells, which are distributed throughout the intricate passages of the cave system via vacuum pipes and carrier drones. These cells are filled to maximum capacity. Any exposure beam weaponry will destabilize the electric charge. You might remember some of those little weird circle things with the Chozo face on top of them we've seen up to this point. Those power cells are what enter those to power whatever they do. We'll see some of that as we go on in this area, though. It's oddly enough a water area that's only half water. The other gimmick is those power cells. So as soon as I get to the first one, I believe at the bottom of this room, you'll see what I mean. There it is. Our goal for a lot of the puzzles in this area is to get those electric balls into one of those little slots like we've seen in a few areas before. Shooting them will make them explode. And when they explode, the damage, I don't think it actually does damage to you, but the electrical interference causes you to be unable to fire your weaponry, or at least your beam cannon. However, it will also deactivate any robotic enemies, so if you wanted to, you could theoretically kill the robo-mines like that. Problem with the electrical orbs themselves, though, if you let them get too far off screen, they will spawn back. Well, actually, no, they'll despawn in some cases. Thankfully, this one was just barely on screen enough to the point where it wouldn't despawn. But if I had gone too much farther down, if I could, I would have had to head back to the top. Oh, hey, a giant flat room. I wonder what the purpose of this is. Yeah, that's predictable. 8 Metroids, though. It sounds like a lot, because I believe that's the second highest number an area has in the game, at least in terms of the main areas. But it's actually pretty tame because of a certain thing I think we're going to see next part in terms of the Metroid layout. This is probably my least favorite Zeta Metroid in the game, though. purely because the electric balls mean I can't fire my weaponry for a bit if I accidentally shoot them with beam weaponry, or if the little sonic slashes the Zeta itself does hit them. And that can get annoying after a while. Also, if I recall yet again, the Zeta Metroids get a new battle theme, which is pretty good. I like it when enemies do that, when games do that, rather. Also, I am having a hell of a time killing this guy. Also, it's probably fine in the video file for you guys once again, but whenever one of these electric charges go off, it makes my video editor freeze up for a second in terms of the preview window, so I apologize if that's happening on your end once again. Now, thankfully, we can get the hell out of this room, though, because I honestly have nightmares of that room a little bit. And now we have one of these things. What these do is that they teleport you from one direction to another. It's basically a chute. Keep that in mind for next part, because it's going to be very important. I think it's next part. Should be. Ow. Yeah, this room sucks, honestly. Thankfully, we'll have a way to deal with the machine enemies in the near future. I am taking the really risky way about this. Ow, ow, ow. What you were supposed to do there is use the little electrical orb to paralyze them, but I decided to go the dumbass route. Either way, our main goal in the distribution center, now that we got the electric orbs everywhere, is to find our first major power-up. Because there's one in particular that is going to really help us get not only a lot more items, but just get through the area in general that is along this route. And after that, if I recall correctly, our goal will be to find a way to get rid of the water physics. I think. It's either that or find... you remember those supply chutes like the one I went in earlier? There's a room that has a lot of those that's going to be quite handy to us. There is actually... first off, obviously, you move these things around by either using your concussive missiles or the bombs. And there is a way to actually guarantee where they're going to go. It's entirely based off the pixel that the bomb is at in relation to the bomb itself. And speedrunners have that stuff outright memorized. But their physics can actually be kind of loose for new players because they have so little weight to them. Oh boy, that's a lot of robo-mines. Get the hell out of here. If you do wait too long, that place actually does become a death trap, so get the hell out. The distribution center, though, in terms of difficulty, I'd probably rank it lower overall than... Oh, hey, screw attack. Jump into enemies to inflict massive damage. It's basically as it is in every other Metroid game. You now damage things with your jump. That's the first main power-up I wanted to get here. It also allows you to completely ignore the robo-mines. In terms of difficulty, as I was saying, I had actually ranked this below even the tower in difficulty, purely because they didn't have to make anything more difficult than it already was. It's a fairly straightforward area. It's just the fact that things do a lot of damage, this place can get kind of annoying. Though, in terms of music, this is probably my favorite track in the game. Once you know it, it's an entirely original track. The remixes are great in this game, but they don't have quite the same amount of charm, you know? Either way, now that I have the screw attack, my next goal is to actually head back towards where we activated all the electric orbs. Why? There is one super missile tank, I think it's a super missile, over there that requires the super missile to access in the first place. Afterwards, we're going to be heading back towards our main goal. Problem is, that means I have to go all the way back around. And I would have sped this up, but I guess I didn't know how long I'd be talking about things for certain things. Mind you, one thing I'll always give the Metroid series, at least Fusion onwards, is that the backtracking isn't as bad as it used to be. Or as it could be, because when I think of really annoying backtracking, I think of some of the Castlevania, Metroidvania games, actually. Because some of those got pretty annoying even with the warp points. Like I immediately think Symphony of the Night, for instance, had that one really bad annoyance where to get the, I forget what it was. I think it was the bat form or a power up to it. You needed to take the mist form and head back to the long library after so long. And that just got annoying. Metroid's always done that better in my eyes, purely because usually you're going along a set path anyway. And if you're going purely based off speedrun, this is where the super missile tank is, by the way, you can get from point A to point B very easily and very quickly. Because Samus as a whole is just a much faster character than any Belmont ever was, or any Dracula descendant / reincarnation. Or whatever the guy's name was from Bloodlines. This is also probably my favorite area graphically, because I like the whole overgrown vegetation idea on the technology side. It actually reminds me a lot of Sector 2 from Fusion, which I guess was one of my favorite areas in that game. It's kind of hard to tell with how big that area was in the first place. Our next goal, though, is to find that room I mentioned earlier with all of the chutes, because, well, here we are. Also, fun fact, the song for this room is a remix of the Metroid 1 item get room. What this room is quick travel. We are now back in the industrial complex. This is why I waited to get some items in here, because I was going to come back here for some stuff anyway, using this. So now I can finally go get that final beam power up that I haven't gotten yet, at least at this point. Basically, the the distribution center there is there to get not only the last few items that were exclusive to Super Metroid onwards, but also to allow you to go back easily and do cleanup. Now you have most of the abilities in the game that would be blocking things. So now I have the Spazer Beam. It does the exact same thing it did in Metroid 2 / Super Metroid. It makes your beam wider. It's basically the wide beam. In fact, I think that's what the wide beam was in Fusion. And with that, this is probably the most useful thing you could have gotten earlier in the game, because the plasma beam would have been able to basically one-shot most of the enemies at that point. However, I didn't go for it earlier because, as I mentioned before a few times, it's faster for me to get this now because I'm coming back here to get some stuff anyway. Namely, we're here to get what's up here in this corner. And this is actually a fairly annoying item to get. What you have to do is go on top of this block and build up a shine spark after opening that door. Jump, and whee! Fly a power bomb. And whoa, that was close. And now at this point, I believe is that point where I try to do the shine spark combo out of the door in this area, because our next goal is to head outside of the industrial complex to get a few more items in the general area. However, I massively fail at it because I'm bad at this game, apparently. Though it brings up the thing I brought up earlier. I tried to do the shine spark here, even just by running left in this doorway. But unlike earlier, it doesn't work for some reason, and I don't know why it's doing this. Because you saw me do this earlier, and I got through it perfectly fine, so I have to wonder what changed. Samus's sprite didn't grow bigger from my knowledge. Maybe having the power bomb selected changed or something? I don't know. It's weird. And at this point, I could have just taken the normal bomb route in that room, but no, I was stupid and forgot about it for God knows how long. This is the last moment of me just playing horribly in the game, from my memory at least. But as for where our next goal is, you might remember, if I'm recalling correctly, this is the order I take. The search and... not the search and rescue. The research team corpse area. There was an elevator there that was blocked off. Now that we have power bombs, we can do something about that. Also, can I please just move on? Man, I was really stubborn about this for too long. That is probably what cost me a certain thing later on. So let's head on over to that general area anyway, shall we? Because this is also the closest area to it, if I recall. Oh yeah, and I can also get the 2 items that are over here. It is 2 items. You could have seen this room earlier on, but we needed the electric orbs activated in order to do anything about it. And this is basically just an electric orb chain that, if I recall, leads to either 1 or 2 items. I think it's an energy tank. Also notable, super missiles send the electric orb flying farther than a normal missile would. Oh no, it's a power bomb. Actually, you know what? It's only 1 item here. I'm thinking of another area we'll be exploring next part that has 2 items in it. My bad. That happens every now and then with the Metroid series. I forget exactly what items we're going for sometimes. But that's just because there's a lot of things to collect in the Metroid games, let's be fair. By the way, thankfully, this area is right next to where I need to go, so I can just go wee, and here we go. Now, there are a total of 2 ways I could approach what I'm about to do. Technically 3, but actually no, it's just flat out 3. When we get to the room right before where the research team was, that's where the elevator is, right here. We need to powerbomb to free the blockage. And there are 2 ways you could get up there. What I'm going to do is take the actual elevator because it's just the most natural way to do it. You could also wall jump up here, which is what I did in my first playthrough, or you could take the fastest way and just shine spark up it. And this leads to another AM2R exclusive area. Welcome to an area that has absolutely 0 Metroids, the GFS Thoth. The GFS Thoth is a Griffin-class ship. Once an escort of the Olympic-class battleships, it has since been converted into a research vessel. Its crew has continuously helped the Federation explore planets, ancient civilizations, and study species throughout the galaxy. The Thoth carries portable drilling machinery for excavations. The ship landed on a small valley. The present dig site connects directly to the underground research lab. An unheard-class gunship is also nearby, registered to the rescue team. So basically, this is where all the Galactic Fed people were. And also, that's some nice little references to Metroid Prime 3 in there, with the ship classes and such. Though I think the Thoth idea was first in Prime 2. Also a nice little reference is that if you come over here on this part of the surface of SR3D8, we find a power bomb and a Hornode in the very room where Samus gets possessed by an X-Parasite infusion. That's a cool little visual Easter egg. I didn't even catch that in my first playthrough, I just went in there for the power bomb, but that's really cool. And there is actually a few reasons to come over here, besides just the items. Because this is, I think, the only optional area I've ever seen in a Metroid game, off the top of my head at least. And as we can see, the people here are dead too, so something killed them, probably not Metroids. Because there is also an exclusive boss fight here that we'll be seeing next part. Also, really eerie theme. Actually, I wonder, is the theme here a remix of something? I don't think it is. Also, the elevator sprites are the exact same as they were. Scanning environment. New log entry updated. The GFS Thoth has been updated. The motion sensor monitor system displays as follows. Level 1 storage, no signal. Level 1 lobby, no signal. Level 2 comms room, no signal. Level 2 west wing, no signal. Level 3 east wing, movement detected. So we should probably head up there. See if I try to actually kill these people. The Thoth is a unique theme. Okay. And once we head over here, there's another elevator. But first I'm going to go use a save room over here to the west. Also, I'd like to note the similarities to the BSL station here in terms of design. That's a really cool Easter egg. But with that, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in Part 7 we'll be exploring the rest of the GFS Thoth's area, see if we can find what killed its civilians in the process, before heading back towards cleanup. See you guys then.